What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Today it is episode 13 of season number 2 of Keeping Up with the Commanders. We've got a great episode. We have the Bears and the Commanders recap from Thursday Night Football. We have an update regarding Carson Wentz and his injury, and I give you my thoughts as well on who I think the starting quarterback should be for the Washington Commanders moving forward. So let's just jump right into it, starting off with this Bears and Commanders game, because it was an absolute snooze fest. This game, it was probably one of the worst games I've watched the Commanders play in terms of a win in a long time. The final score being 12-7 against the Chicago Bears last Thursday night. Carson Wentz couldn't even throw for 100 yards in this game, but it did end up to be good reason behind him not throwing for 100 yards, as he did break his finger at one point in that game. So that's not good, especially for him. He was having problems with his throwing shoulder throughout the week and injury with that as well. So now he has a broken finger. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He had a successful surgery on Monday. And moving forward, Taylor Heinicke is going to be set to start. This will be the third straight year where Taylor Heinicke doesn't start the week 1 matchup, but still ends up starting moving on in the season. So that's a little bit interesting. But I'll get more into who I think actually should be the starter moving forward. But I guess let's continue here with the Commanders and Bears game. Brian Robinson, in his first ever start in his NFL career, about 8 weeks? 8 weeks? No, sorry, it was less than that. It was like 40 days. 40 days since getting shot twice in his leg, 17 carries for 60 yards in his first ever NFL career touchdown. That was a pretty solid night for Brian Robinson, especially for those folks that had Brian Robinson in their starting lineup. He had a great game for you. Antonio Gibson, 5 carries for 35 yards. Wasn't really much of a threat in the run game. We really saw what the backfield is going to be like moving forward. Brian Robinson is going to be that lead back, and I expect him to get a lot more carries moving forward because of the quarterback situation. While Antonio Gibson, it's a little bit interesting what's happening to him right now in that backfield. Only 5 carries for him. He did return a kick, I believe, at one point, which, I mean, he had a little bit of open space, maybe a little bit of a hole. I believe he got out to about the 25 or whatever, but it definitely was a lot better than what Dax Milne has been doing this season, so I'd enjoyed that. I want to keep Antonio Gibson there at that kick returner spot because I think he could possibly maybe break one. It depends how our blocking is and stuff. In terms of the receiving game, again, it was pretty bad. 99 total yards through the air for Carson Wentz. Terry McLaurin was the leading receiver, 3 catches for 41 yards, with his longest being 17 on 4 targets. He was up against Jalen Johnson for most of the day, or most of the night, I guess, because it was a night game against the Chicago Bears, and wasn't really targeted much. Again, Wentz was 12 of 22. He only completed 12 passes. On the opposite side of the ball, Justin Fields, a guy who has barely thrown the ball at all this season, threw the ball the most out of any game for the Bears this season, having 27 pass attempts and completing 14 of those for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. The offensive line on both sides of the ball was absolutely horrendous. Of course, our offensive line has just been absolutely horrendous. It's been getting picked apart this entire season so far, especially since we lost Eric Flowers from last year. We lost Brendan Scher from last year. Chase Roulier had that season-ending injury, back-to-back season-ending injuries now for him. And this offensive line was just being up. Sam Cosmi was out for this game. Cornelius Lucas came in and started at right tackle, which he did a pretty solid job, in my opinion. Was one of the highest-graded offensive players on PFF. So for the Commanders, and I think overall as well. So he had a pretty solid game. The Chicago offensive line was how you'd expect when they go up against 3 first-round picks in Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen. 5 sacks for 36 yards. It was Justin Fields. It was not his night at all. You guys probably watched the game, but Justin Fields, they were inches away, centimeters away from winning this game. So, I mean, it was how the Commanders win usually goes. In terms of the receiving game for Chicago, 4 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown for Dante Pettis. I'm going to be honest. Before this season, I've never heard of Dante Pettis. I don't know where Dante Pettis went to school. I don't know what round Dante Pettis was selected in. I've never even heard of Dante Pettis. So that was pretty bad when he's going up against our cornerback one in Kendall Fuller. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Darnell Mooney, of course, the wide receiver one, 7 catches for 68 yards, an average of 9.7, with as long as being 26 yards. He had a pretty solid game. David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, and Velus Jones Jr. all with 1 catch. Velus Jones was pretty much the reason why the Bears lost this game, muffing a punt towards the end of the game, which set up an easy Brian Robinson touchdown, the only touchdown of the day for the Commanders. So that's basically the only reason why we won this game. The defense was pretty solid pretty much for the entire game, besides on that last drive when the Bears were, I believe, inside the 10-yard line with the 15 seconds left in the game on 4th and goal. So, I mean, it was the defense, it was pretty solid, but it's a bend but don't break defense. We'll put it at that. So yeah, for the defense, 12 tackles for Cole Holcomb. Again, we still not re-signed him. I don't know what we're doing, but please bring back Cole Holcomb because he's really the only reasons why no one's breaking out in the middle of the field. Rochard Wildgoose, a guy who I've made jokes of in the past on this podcast, but I'm gonna give him credit when he deserves it. He had a solid game against the Bears. He had a very solid game playing in the slot. 7 tackles for him on the day. But I mean, I was wrong about Wild Goose. I'm not gonna lie. I was wrong about him. Montez Sweat, 6 tackles. He also had 2 tackles for loss and a sack as well. Cameron Curl had a sack. Jonathan Allen had a sack. F.A. Obata had his first sack of his career. Congrats to him. Deron Payne had a sack. I mean, people were getting to the quarterback all over the place. Benjamin St. Juste in this one, one of my favorite players on this team. 3 tackles for him. Derek Forrest, another great game, very underrated guy. 5 tackles with 3 of those being solo tackles. And 1 pass defense as well. Jonathan Allen had a pass defense. Obata, McCain, who else? James Smith-Williams had a pass defense. I mean, 12 quarterback hits on Justin Fields. Montez Sweat being 4 of them. It was an absolute great game from this defense on pretty much both in the secondary and in that front 4 as well. While for the Chicago defense, Roquan Smith, a guy that we should probably trade for maybe if we can get in a little blockbuster trade before the Week 8 deadline. 12 tackles, 9 of those being solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss as well. Nicholas Moreau had 9 tackles. No, I haven't really heard of him. The rookie Kyler Gordon had 6 tackles and 1 pass defense, a pretty solid game on the stat sheet. Eddie Jackson, a guy who's had a great start to the season for the Chicago Bears, had 5 tackles. Same with Jaquan Brisker, the rookie, as well. So, I mean, both defenses, again, the score is 12-7. So it was two pretty bad offenses. Both defenses had a pretty solid game. Jonathan Allen, by the way, had that interception, his first interception of his career. So that will pretty much do it for the Commanders and Bears game. But now, this is the part that I really want to talk about in this episode. Taylor Heinicke is going to be set to be the starter as of now for the Washington Commanders this Sunday against the Packers. Now, we look at the schedule knowing that Carson Wentz is going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with his fractured ring finger on his throwing arm. We've got Green Bay at home this week. I'm just going to go through this list and say win or loss. Green Bay at home, a Green Bay team that has struggled. Okay, they've lost to now both New York teams in back-to-back weeks. I still think we're not going to win that one. Taylor Heinicke, he's going to have to pull something out of his bag here because unless, I mean, he has the improviser archetype in Madden. Okay, if he can improvise a little bit, if he can be able to throw on the run, if he can throw it more than 20 yards downfield, we have a chance. But the Green Bay Packers, they're still the Green Bay Packers. Yes, they've lost to the Jets and Giants, but they're still the Green Bay Packers. They still have Aaron Rodgers on their team. And when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, you can still win games. So I'm just going to say that's a loss for now. Okay, but again, we could win that. The Colts, after that, in Indianapolis, it's a little bit of a toss-up there, I would say. Matt Ryan and the Colts, I believe they won a great play from Matt Ryan to Alec Pierce in the closing 20 seconds of the game, I think, to win the game for the Colts in their game on Sunday. So I'm going to say that's a toss-up. I'm going to give ourselves the win there. But then we got Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be at home. Kirk Cousins returning to Washington again. That's going to be a loss. unless Minnesota falls off a cliff in these next 2 weeks, which I don't expect they do. I don't know what their schedule is, but I don't expect that they will. That'll probably be a loss. And then on Monday night, so if it's a 4 to 6 week injury, maybe Carson Wentz is able to come back for this game. Monday night in Philadelphia. And we know what Philadelphia just did to the Cowboys on Sunday night. So we're going to say that's a loss as well. And then this is where things get interesting. If Taylor Heinicke is playing good, you hit the 5-week mark from this injury. If Taylor Heinicke is playing good, do you keep him in over a healthy Carson Wentz? Because you have at Houston versus Atlanta on November 20th and November 27th. That is the area where Carson Wentz will probably be back somewhere in those games, or be back healthy somewhere in those games. So that's going to be a question up for concern. But now, I have a problem with this starting right now. Taylor Heinicke is right now set to be the starter, of course. But Sam Howell, in my opinion, should be the starter for the Washington Commanders right now. Now, hear me out. This might sound a little bit crazy. Why, Mason? Why do you want to put in a 5th-round quarterback against Green Bay? All right, for his first ever career start when he hasn't even been active for one of the first 6 games of the season. Well, hear me out. You don't play him this week against Green Bay. All right, if this depends on how Heinicke does. If Heinicke plays well against Green Bay, okay, yeah, the team's going to keep him in. If we win the game, right? If we beat Green Bay, they're going to keep him in. Maybe the season's still alive. We're going to be 3-4 at that point. But if we lose, we're going to be 2-5. We look ahead at this draft, and there's some quarterbacks that have been playing pretty well in college football right now. If you heard of Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, the Heisman front runner, Hendon Hooker has been playing pretty well. Cam Rising, I'm going to sneak him in there. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, if he comes and declares for the draft. So, I mean, there's some pretty solid quarterback names, especially we can probably get one in the later rounds and maybe use him as a project. But I want to see Sam Howell play some football because we have a guy in there, rookie quarterback, that has some potential. And before the end of the season, I would like him to start 1 or 2 games if this season is lost, because he could be our potential for those people. Again, I'm not known to praise Sam Howell. I'm a Sam Howell hater, as they say, but he has some potential. Okay, now where will we see this potential be unleashed on the field? I don't really know. I don't think we play some solid defenses like the Niners defense later on down the road, Cowboys defense down the road. The Niners, I already said the Niners, the Giants defense back to back. So yes, I put the Giants in there because their defense is actually pretty solid for once. The Eagles defense, Vikings defense. So my proposition is, if Heinicke plays these next 4 games, Green Bay, Indianapolis, Minnesota, Philadelphia. All right, if we play those 4 games, we go 2-2 or 1-3 in those 4 games. We bench Heinicke. If Wentz isn't healthy for the game against Houston, we start Sam Howell. November 20th, week 11. You know what? I'm just going to go out there and predict it right now. Week 11, November 20th, against Houston, in Houston, Sam Howell will make his first ever NFL career start. I'm just going to say it right now. I think that could be the day where we see UNC legend Sam Howell start a game for the Washington Commanders. So that's my prediction. I think week 11 will probably be somewhere around Carson Wentz being healthy, but I feel like this injury is going to last a little bit longer than the 4 to 5 week mark for Carson Wentz. So Sam Howell, I would like to see him play, please, pretty please. Ron Rivera, please, because this season is lost if we go 1-3 or 2-2 in these next 4 games. So that's probably going to do it for this episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Oh, one more thing, actually. I do need to talk about this one thing. William Jackson III, on last Wednesday, the day after the last episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders came out, he declared he demanded a trade. And so with the trade deadline, when this episode comes out, exactly 1 week away. So I'm all up for trading William Jackson. He hasn't been great. He was a healthy scratch, I believe. Oh no, not healthy, but he didn't even travel with the team to Chicago. So I wouldn't mind trading away William Jackson. He is the second highest cap hit on this team. I don't really know why we signed him because we like to play a lot of zone, and William Jackson is more of a man corner. So I don't really know what the plan was there. And if we can trade him away for like a 5th round pick maybe or 6th round pick, I would say that's pretty solid because right now he's on the 2nd year of his deal, second highest cap hit on the team right now. Which if we can get rid of that cap space, save up some money. If we don't trade him away by the end of this deadline, I would say we'd probably cut him after this season anyways. So I would say we should trade him for a draft pick or 2 because we might be entering a rebuild stage. I know we've been in a rebuild for 30 years, but we might be entering another like franchise quarterback trying to draft a new one type of rebuild. So hopefully we can trade him away before the deadline. He's definitely not going to be playing for Washington probably for the rest of the season unless something major changes. But I don't think he's going to be playing another snap for the Commanders. We've got Kendall Fuller at cornerback 1 right now, who has really struggled so far this season. Benjamin St-Juste, who especially in the game against Chicago as well, impressed me again as our cornerback 2. And I'm all for him being the cornerback 2 on this team. And then Rachid Wildgoose, who has had a solid game against Chicago and also a solid game last week against the Titans as well. He's kind of nice with it as a slot corner. So I'm excited to see him play some more as well when we play Alan Lazard, Romeo Doubs. Who's the other guy? Not Randall Cobb, he's hurt now, but some other guy, Christian Watson. I think he's still playing. I don't know if he's hurt or not, but when we play those guys, I'm excited to see this cornerback room and see how they play against a wide receiver core in Green Bay that isn't that great. So, but with that being said, that'll be it for this episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. A little bit of a longer one, I think, or something like that. Yeah, a little bit of a longer one. But there's a lot to talk about in Washington, D.C. right now for the Commanders. So hopefully we can get the win against the Green Bay Packers. Maybe we can go on a little bit of a winning streak, maybe with Taylor Heinicke. We will see. Will Sam Howell start in the game week 11 against the Texans? We will see. Thank you guys for watching or listening to another episode of Keeping With the Commanders. See you guys in the next one. Peace.